कर लिया मैंने ज्वाइन ना, देखो आप।
हाँ आ तो रही है आपकी, लेकिन बहुत सॉफ्ट आ रही है आवाज. इट्स नॉट लाउड इनफ.
क्या
बहुत ही धीरे.
अब
हाँ, इट्स बेटर नाउ.
बस ऐसे पता नहीं, स्पीकर कल से काम नहीं करे। ये देखो मेरी ना ये वाली फोटो आ रही है चंद्रिका लांबा वाली, राइट?
हाँ हाँ.
ये तो दिक्कत है, पता है।
हम्म,
कल जो हमारी इनिशियल हुई थी, जो हमारी उत्कर्ष सर के साथ थी, आई
हम्म,
थिंक 5 से 6 वाली,
हाँ
उसमें जहाँ मेरे को याद है जो चीज, वो ये कि मैं जब बोल रही थी ना, तो मेरी वीडियो वाला दिख रहा था। उसने कहा था कि जो जिसकी वीडियो ऑन नहीं है
हम्म.
वो हम नहीं दिखाएंगे, सिर्फ वही लोग दिखेंगे जो जो वीडियो से ऑन है।
ओके.
तो क्या करेंगे?
वो
कल तो था ही ऑप्शन। मेरे को फोन से जाना पड़ेगा तो। मैं पैनलिस्ट में ना ज्वाइन करके अगर मैं नॉर्मल ज्वाइन करूँ बस, तो भी आई थिंक वो वीडियो दिखाता है, तो फिर शायद। अभी देखना, आवाज आ रही है मेरी? फिर वो ये कि फोटो ये वाली आ रही है यार, कल तो नहीं था ये वाली चीज।
पोस्ट हाँ शेयर हो जाएगी.
अभी अगर मैं बोलूंगी, आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ बट काफी कम आ रही है.
फोटो नहीं आ रही, आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ अभी आ रही है.
और अभी वो भी नहीं दिख रहा ना, जो पहले मतलब। अभी मेरी कौन सी वीडियो दिख रही है?
अभी
नॉर्मल।
आपकी प्रोफाइल पिक्चर ही दिख रही है.
अभी बोलती हूँ तो यार shit यार।
हम्म,
तो फिर फोन से ऑन करेगा मुझे। फोन से सेटअप करती हूँ।
ओके. एक मिनट.
अगर मैं उनकी प्रोफाइल देख के बोलती हूँ तो क्या पता चल रहा है? देख
क्या चीज? अभी आपके प्रोफाइल पिक्चर आ रही है, लाइक योर
हाँ, वो
विजिबल।
फोन से आई हूँ ना मैं, पूरा सेटअप। फिर वो वही है, मैं अब अगर उनकी वो बोलती हूँ ना, देख के भी बोलती हूँ तो शायद पता लगेगा, क्योंकि मैं नीचे देखूंगी। फोन छोटा होता है ना, लैपटॉप में तो कहीं पे भी आप छोटी सी स्क्रीन एडजस्ट कर सकते हो।
राइट।
यार बुक्स और लानी पड़ेंगी मुझे शायद। एक मिनट रुकना।
हाँ।
अभी ठीक है क्या सब, या चेंज करूँ प्रोपोर्शन कुछ?
आई थिंक बुक्स या और कुछ और लगानी है क्या? थोड़ा नीचे हो रहा है। हाई
नीचे
लेवल।
हो रहा है या ऊपर हो गया ज्यादा? आई थिंक।
हाई लेवल पे।
अरे मैं ऐसे बैठूँ ना, तो नीचे फिर लैपटॉप भी आएगा थोड़ा सा ना दिखने के
अच्छा,
लिए। आई थिंक
ठीक है।
इतना ठीक है।
हाँ हाँ, फिर ये अभी ठीक आ रही है।
और
तो को भी ज्वाइन करने के लिए बोलना है 43।
हाँ, पहले फेसबुक पे जाना है, फिर ये करना है।
ओके।
सर को तुम्हारे पास नंबर है ना?
हाँ।
कोऑर्डिनेट कर लो सर से, जब तक मैं तुम अपनी वो करो और स्क्रीन शेयर कर लो। और
हाँ।
हिंदी तो अभी कोई भी नहीं आया, सर आके क्या करेंगे?
उनको मैं कब कॉल करूँ, लाइक?
तो देखते हैं अटेंडी ज्वाइन शुरू हो करना भी।
ओके।
आंटी, वो जो स्क्रिप्ट थी ना, वो मेल में ही एडिट करके मेल पे ही भेज दो मेरे को। अभी फोन से ही कर लो एडिटिंग, जो व्हाट्सएप की थी ना।
अच्छा, हाँ, एक
है
सेकेंड।
10 मिनट अभी तो हमारे पास। यार ज्वाइन करेंगे पार्टिसिपेंट? यू कैन ऑल्सो चेक ना कि कितने लोग अटेंडीज है नहीं है।
मेरी स्क्रीन पे ये है ना, सो आई एम नॉट श्योर हाउ डू यू। ओ राइट, ऊपर पार्टिसिपेंट।
एस्केप कर सकते हो ना तुम, तो छोटा भी कर सकते हो स्क्रीन को, या नहीं कर सकते?
नहीं, अगर मैं छोटा करूंगी तो वो वैसे ही दिखेगी फिर।
ओ। हम्म।
मैंने आपको स्क्रिप्ट के नाम से मेल कर दिया है।
एक बार रिहर्सल कर लेते हैं, ठीक है? तुम देखना मेरी आंखें जो है वो कितना पता लग रहा है।
ठीक है।
मैं देख रही हूँ। कोई भी वेबिनार में, चलते वेबिनार में प्रॉब्लम लगती है तो फटाफट मेरे को व्हाट्सएप कर देना। मैं भी तुम्हें यही सजेशन दूंगी कि फोन का व्हाट्सएप एक्टिव रखना अपना।
ठीक है।
Hello and welcome everyone. It's really amazing to have all of you join us on Saturday morning for a discussion on virtuous law and virtuous application. I, Chandrika Lamba, Business Outreach Executive from Lawyers, will be moderating this session along with Aarti Agarwal, a graduate of NLIU Bhopal, who is working. दिख रहा है ना? मेरी
हाँ,
आंखें नीचे है, नीचे है
ऊपर
ना?
नीचे होते हुए दिख रही है।
सर का फोन आ गया।
आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही मैम। नहीं।
Hi, good morning.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
All well? कितने लोग हैं अभी? कोई ऑनलाइन नहीं है?
है सर, 2 अटेंडीज आ चुके हैं, गरिमा एंड वन मोर।
कितने लोग हैं?
अभी तो 2 ही है सर। लेट्स वेट फॉर अटेंडीज टू जॉइन अस।
ओके। वैसे भी 11 बजे से है, आई गेस।
हाँ।
My voice is clear?
यस सर।
यस।
I went to my office today, अभी, and I tried just wanted to know whether my internet is playing funny or not. It was playing funny actually.
Thank God, sir, हमने रात solution निकाल
Yes,
दिया.
yes, that was very wise on your part. Very wise on your part. How much do you expect would be joining us, Chandrika?
Sir, it totally depends. Like
अभी तक कितने registration हुए हैं?
95.
95 registration. Usually कितने होते हैं वैसे? In the previous seminars, how many registrations were there? Maximum?
Maximum sir 105 हुए हैं. 105 या 101 I think जहाँ तक मुझे याद है. I think 101 हुए थे. This is the second highest registration.
101 किसके सेमिनार में हुए थे?
अभी तो दिमाग ही नहीं चल रहा.
Never mind, never
हो
mind.
चुका है सर दिमाग. I think
अभी
इनके थे सौम्या मैम के ना, उनका IBC टॉपिक था.
insolvency and bankruptcy code.
जी.
I am appearing in this code since 2016 when this code just started. Basically, it's a tribunal. So when it started in 2016, there were only two courts in that tribunal. One was of Justice M.M. Kumar and one was of Ina Malhotra. So before us, the pleading started. When advocates used to come, they used to come without index. They never used to know that the advance petition is to be filed. So everything developed before us.
Nice.
And now there are 7 courts.
On this IBC.
NCLT Delhi, yes.
Oh.
So they not only deal with insolvency and bankruptcy code, they also deal with company law. I mean Companies Act. So mergers and acquisitions, mismanagement, all the things are dealt in NCLT only. So are we going to wait? If
Sir,
they
I
don't,
think
or we'll start.
we'll start at
11.
yeah. I'll go live on Facebook first, then I'll just start with the webinar. Starting with the introduction.
Aarti, this is your first webinar? No.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Chalo, we are in the same boat.
Yeah.
Aarti, I'm going live on Facebook.
Okay.
Hello and welcome everyone. It's really amazing to have you all on joining us on Saturday morning for a discussion on virtuous and virtuous application. I, Chandrika Lamba, Business Outreach Executive from Lawyer, will be moderating this session along with Aarti Agarwal, a graduate of NLIU who is working with Business Outreach Lawyer. For today's session, we have Advocate Utkarsh Singh with us, who will be sharing this valuable experience on today's topic. Utkarsh sir is a senior partner at Unitum Orbis, a law firm in New Delhi. Sir is practicing advocate and has appeared in matters before the Supreme Court, High Court, as well as NCLT, NCLAT, amongst many others. And we are happy to have you, sir.
Thank you.
Before we begin today's session, I would like to set the ground rules. Participants will be muted throughout the course of the webinar. To avoid any disturbance to the speaker, participants can send their questions in the Q&A tab below. These questions will be taken up by the sir during the course of the webinar or after the presentation on the due topic. Over to you, Aarti.
Thank you, Chandrika ma'am. It's an honor to share the space with experienced professionals. I will be talking about the brief history behind the topic. So, as we know, back in the 70s, grave injustices prevailed, such as discrimination on various grounds and practices such as sati and untouchability. The essence of law basically lays down the principle of natural justice, which is against the rule of bias and the party's right to fair hearing. However, the law, in an attempt to protect its citizens from these cruelties, has enacted and amended legislation over a period of time. We have the Indian Penal Code, the Dowry Prohibition Act, the Arbitration Conciliation Act, to name a few. It is observed that, however, over a period of time, individuals have misused these provisions and therefore given them the nature of a mere formality. We have with us Utkarsh sir, who is an experienced advocate in this area. He has dealt in matters firsthand and will be sharing his experience. So could you tell us more about
Yeah.
how these provisions are misused and why?
Yes. Thank you, Chandrika, and thank you, Aarti. So we have to understand here that the proceedings, which were basically civil proceedings like matrimonial disputes, commercial disputes, they later on turned into criminal proceedings. Now, what led to changing of these disputes into criminal proceedings? Now, we will have to understand that what is the background behind allegation of criminal nature in these proceedings. The first issue we'll take is of matrimonial matters. So in matrimonial matters, what used to happen is that prior to 2005, the entire family of the husband used to be implicated in matters, and the investigating authorities used to get this discretion, and they had this discretion that they would arrest at will. Now, due to prevalent misuse of this provision, Supreme Court passed a judgment, which was a wonderful judgment. In order to curb the discretion, this judgment was known as Arnesh Kumar. And this judgment made an imperative that no automatic arrest would lie. No automatic arrest would lie in these matters. Now, they had IO was under the mandated provision of 41A that he would serve a notice, and then once the accused don't join, then only the right would accrue to the investigating officer to arrest. So basically, the discretion of the investigating officer to arrest accused in matrimonial matters was curbed down. But however, there were arrests which were made. So later on in 2017, a new judgment came. That was also a very good judgment, which is known as Rajesh Sharma. The judgment was Rajesh Sharma. In 2017, Honorable Supreme Court mandated that the arrest would be made after the consent or from the approval of family welfare committees. It also mandated that there would be formation of family welfare committees. Basically, the right to arrest by the IO was substantially curtailed after this judgment. Now, the provision of 498A, 406 and 34, which is primarily the provision which is used in matrimonial matters during FIRs if cruelty is alleged by the wife. These sections were basically made toothless because of and it was necessary because they were being misused badly. So now what happened is that the accused was met with several other allegations which were beyond the ambit of 498. Now, why this happened? The victim felt, in some of the cases, victim felt that, see, there is no automatic arrest. Once there is no automatic arrest, they will join the complaint, they will join the investigation because there is no automatic FIR now. You have to go to Crime Against Women Cell. They will call you for mediation. They'll call you for settlement. They'll call you for amicable resolution of disputes. Once the amicable resolution of dispute fails, then only they proceed with the FIR. So, in order to evade this entire process, the allegations start coming of nature which were of very serious consequence. Now, these involved section 354, 377, 376D, not only against the husband, but also against the family, the male family members of the husband, and the other female family members of the husband were involved by the incorporation of section 120B. So basically, the entire purpose of the judgment which was there of Arnesh Kumar and Rajesh Sharma, they were all bypassed by inclusion of such allegations of such nature, which was happening in some of the cases. Now, what happens because of this? Now, once you make such allegations, because matrimonial matters will take a lot of time to get settled or to get to the final conclusion when the decree is passed. So what happens is with these allegations, it is sometimes used as leverage in order to get settlement which is lopsided. We will have to understand this, that in civil and commercial proceedings also this is happening now. You enter into a civil dispute with somebody, you enter into a dispute which is primarily of a civil nature. You are a vendor to somebody, somebody is using that material, you are unable to supply, he uses criminal proceeding against you instead of civil proceeding. We take another example. Flat builders. Out of 400 flats, one of my known tos, I would give his example. What happened is, out of 400 flats, 340 flats were sold, but 60 were not sold. Because of that, there was some mismanagement. Now, instead of going to Consumer Dispute Resolution Commission, SCDRC or NCDRC, people referred, instead of going to Consumer Forum, they referred going to police station. Now, they don't understand that once in matrimonial matters or in civil disputes, police is involved, the investigation falls in the hand of investigating officer. And once it falls in the hands of investigating officer, we lose the command of the case. In civil cases, the command is always in our hands. So you can put in all your effort to get the desired relief. Now, for example, I'll give you that how criminal matters, criminal provisions are being used in matrimonial matters. One of the cases which I am dealing before Delhi High Court, the marriage was there, sustained for somewhere around 12 to 13 years. Now, there was some dispute which rose between husband and wife. And in that case, we were really shocked. In fact, the court was also considered my point that after 13 years of marriage, the wife alleged crimes which were perpetrated on her by the family of the husband and the husband himself under section 376D, 377 and section 354. Now there is a stage of framing of charges when the trial is on. The trial court framed charges under these provisions only mechanically, and then we approached the High Court under section 397 for reconsideration of charges. Now we will have to understand that once these allegations are made, there is no option with the accused but to face the entire trial. Why this happened? The wife expected a quick divorce, she wanted a settlement, and the allegations were made since the beginning of the marriage. So the marriage took place somewhere in 2003. In the FIR which is lodged in 2015, she has alleged that she has been met with such crime or allegation, such acts by the husband and the family members of the husband since 2005. Now imagine somebody going through such atrocious, such heinous circumstances, and she has kept silent for 10 years. There is no MLC. So in this example, we understand that in matrimonial matters, criminal proceedings are not. There are already very finely drafted provisions which can be used against the family members and the husband himself under Domestic Violence Act. There are specific prayers, wonderful prayers, which you can plead before the court and you would get relief on the very first day if you have a credible case. So we understand that in matrimonial matters, you make sure that your case is a valid case. It does not contain the frivolous allegations, and then only you can expect to get a relief. If you make frivolous allegations, then it becomes very difficult for the prosecution to establish them. Now, if we take the similar perspective in civil cases, suppose one of my clients enter into a contract with somebody. Now he enters into a contract for a piece of land. Once the piece of land was decided that he is going to sell it, he took an advance of somewhere around 1.1 crore. Now, in due consideration, he found that the price of the land has gone high. Now he decided that he is not going to give the land. Now, the victim or the opposite party in this case, instead of going for suit for specific performance, they decided to file a case of 420. Now, what happens in this case, you understand? Once you file a case of 420 against somebody, you make a charge against someone which will yield immediate result. Definitely it will yield immediate result, but that is not going to get you the land back. You can only get the land back by way of suit for specific performance. Ultimately, in that matter, the matter was sent to mediation, and then the matter was settled, the money was returned, and the land was kept by the other party. So we understand that criminal allegations are usually being used to get immediate relief in matters which are basically and primarily of civil nature. So that's what the background is. Now, I would like to invite Aarti and Chandrika if anybody who would like to ask any question.
So what would you say is the consequence of converting a civil matter to a commercial matter for the from the perspective of a victim and accused?
You are trying to say commercial matter into a criminal matter, right?
Right, yeah. Sorry.
Right? So once you convert a commercial matter into a criminal matter, the problem which arises is that the criminal matter, the investigation is entirely in the hand of the police authorities. Once you file a civil matter, which is under Commercial Courts Act, either before the High Court or before the trial court, depending upon the jurisdiction in Delhi especially, or you go by the Arbitration Act, you have the case in your own hands if you file a civil matter, civil proceeding. But once you file a criminal proceeding, the entire investigation goes into the hand of the police authorities. Basically, it is not a recovery proceeding. It is made to turn into a recovery proceeding by way of mediation. That is a different matter. That is what I am trying to call out in this webinar, that civil remedies are already there. One should always pursue the civil remedies. You will only get the desired relief by way of pursuing Arbitration Act or by Commercial Courts Act in your contract, instead of going by way of criminal proceedings.
Right. Also, so then in that case, as a victim, how would the victim make their case stronger on true merits?
How would, I'm sorry, just can you just repeat the question?
Yes, sir. So as a victim, how can the case be made stronger on true merits instead of using false accusations?
False accusation. Very pertinent question, Aarti. Now, if we take matrimonial matters, for instance, now if the victim is being met with such atrocious crime, I suggest, I think, I opine that, in my opinion, she should report the instance, that crime, at the very first instance, which means that even if a slight cruelty has been perpetrated either by the husband or by the family members, she should immediately report it to the police or to the women's helpline. And if physical assault has taken place, immediately she should approach the hospital for her medical checkup, so that MLC is there on the record. So once she does this, it acts as a deterrent against the husband or the family members of the husband. Second, if it is repeated over a period of time, then she has a very credible case against family members and the husband himself, because nobody, I say nobody, even once, should face such heinous offense against herself. So she should raise her voice on the very first instant, instead of making allegations of heinous nature at the end, after suffering for 4 years, after suffering for 5 years. You try to make out a case where it is, where the allegations are very serious in nature. Instead, on the very first day, you make sure that you have reported it, and you have a record that this has taken place with you. And over a period of time, you will see that nobody would even dare venture to touch you.
Right.
Sir, when you mentioned that she could, I would say complain it in the forums. So could you please help the audiences exactly where if women facing such crimes or these assaults, so where can she lodge these complaints, and
Yes.
you can just put some light on
Yes,
this.
yes, I'll inform. See, first you have to see that what kind of problem you are facing. If you are facing it with the husband, then you have to see that on the first instance, if you report, you can report it before the police using dial 100 or women's helpline, or if there is a physical assault, you can go to the Mahila. In every district now there is a mandated police station, which is women's police station. This is Mahila Thana. In almost in every district we have it, so you should report it there. And if you are unable to go, if you feel fearful that you cannot go, if you feel that you cannot go, then you should use telephone, or you should write to somebody else who is outside your house, who could report this, and somebody could come and
Hello, Utkar sir. I think there is a technical glitch. Um, okay, from the attendees, I can see Shivika is raising her hand. I would request Shivika to write her question in the Q&A option available in the lower panel. Also, Aarti, if we can share the screen like PPT after the section part,
Right.
the consequences.
Yeah, so basically, in cases where the provisions have been misused, I think from what we've heard from Sir, the particular case loses its merit, and the basic purpose of enacting such a provision or legislation, like the safeguarding purpose, is defeated. And then, like this, it becomes a mere formality. Also, where cases hold true merits and there are no false accusations or misuse, I think the authenticity of such a party may come into question because of previous history. And I think constant misuse will raise a question of credibility, where exactly where the case holds merit. Also, another one could, a possible consequence would be the entire community being generalized. To say that, suppose a specific person of, okay, so we have Sir back. We can move to the Q&A.
Sir, would you please?
yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry for the disruption, please.
No issue, sir. Please rotate your screen as. Thank you, sir. Now it's perfect. So, sir, you were somewhere where you were putting some lights
Yes.
on where exactly women can redress her
Women
problem.
can approach. So you should immediately approach either by way of dial 100 or by way of women's helpline, and you must make sure that there is an independent witness to what you have suffered. So either from the neighborhood or from someone who is from the family of the husband but who is not present in the house. You must inform that what you are being made to suffer. You must make sure that somebody is there who can act as a witness.
Sir, family of the women herself, like family of the women, can they be the person of like evidence of any sort?
Yes, they can act as evidence if you make a call to your family members, but most of the time what we have seen is that family members live away from the house of the husband. So basically what happens is that they would be of less consequence if you will call them for an immediate relief. If immediate relief is to be sought, you must call somebody from neighborhood, from nearest police station, from the women's helpline, or you must raise an alarm that something wrong is happening on the very first instance. Yeah, and if you want to inform your parents, that is not at all an issue. But the problem, but the consequential problem is with them is that they are of less help because they cannot come to your rescue immediately.
Aarti, let's speak on the consequences part also, and then the story also. So we need your point of views on the slide.
I'm sorry, it was not audible, Chandrika.
So we would like you to share your views on this particular slide.
The consequence.
The consequence. Okay. So the consequence of such allegations where there is no merit. See, what happens is usually once you make an allegation against the family members, which is basically devoid of any substantial evidence, you must understand that once you make an allegation, it has to be proved in the court of law, and the court of law will only see your case on the basis of the evidence which are produced before them. Now, how it happens? You make an allegation, you don't have the evidence, but once you make an allegation, the case is filed. Now there are two ways. Now what happens? Usually what happens is that there are two things which can take place. Either you will use these allegations. Most of the time this happens is that people use these allegations sometimes in order to use as a leverage over settlement. Once the settlement takes place, you either turn hostile or you enter into a settlement and then the FIR is quashed. In very heinous crimes, no such quashing can take place. But if the allegations are not of very heinous nature, quashing of FIR is liberally construed. They can take place. But once these allegations are made, sometimes it is used as a leverage. But if you I would say use it as but if you go before the court without using those evidence, then it will become a problem. Why? It will become a problem because your case will ultimately result into acquittal, and once it results into acquittal, you are left with no remedy because you have no credible evidence in your case to substantiate your case. So one should refrain from making frivolous allegations. One must empower herself that even a slightest of physical or verbal cruelty has taken place, it is reported, and once you make sure that you have a credible case against you, no one shall be spared. And I think courts are very clear in this, that no crime against women are being entertained. But if you look at the factual data, only 12%, around 12 to 15% of cases result into conviction under 498A. Why this is happening? This is only happening because you from the beginning are, you are silently facing it. You are not immediately reporting it or immediately taking an action against it. So that is the consequence, that you cannot just face something for 5 years silently. You have to step up and you have to take a stand on the very first day, instead of making frivolous and false allegations on the last day.
Okay. So also, what solution would you propose for putting an end to this unvirtuous application of law?
Can you just repeat the question?
What solution would you propose to put an end to this unvirtuous application of law?
I would say that if people would consider that civil remedies have larger probability of yielding the desired result, like in commercial matters, wherein you use section 420, 406 in order to have a leverage over somebody else or over the opposite party. If you go by civil proceedings, by way of Arbitration Act, by way of Commercial Courts Act, you have a larger possibility that you will get what you are desiring, as you have the case in your hand. You have the discretion to have lawyer of your choice. You have evidences in your hand. They shall be placed before the court. You will be subject to cross-examination. But if you go for, say, criminal proceeding in civil disputes, then it would be a problem in one way or the other, because investigation is not in your hand. The prosecution would take call. They may file charge sheet after 3 years. In civil remedy, you might get a decree in your favor in 3 years.
Sir, there is a very, I would say a practical question from the audiences coming, which is from Ashok. He is asking, what can we do if women misuses the IPC section 354?
Yes, very, very pertinent question, Ashok. I am so glad that you have asked this. See, Ashok, you will have to see that 354 is being used in what circumstances? Is it being used after a series of dispute which has already been raised against you, against the someone, or against the family members of him? Or it is being used as a leverage, as a tactic by someone in order to get case filed against you, so that she can use it as a leverage. Now you will have to understand that the circumstances prevailing in which the allegations have been led, like section 354, if it is being used against a senior while in a workplace, it will have a different consequence. It is being used in public place against a stranger, then it is totally different. The circumstances in which the allegations have been made under section 354 is pivotal for the case. Now, in a matrimonial dispute, for example, in a matrimonial dispute, suppose allegation of 354 is used against father-in-law or brother-in-law. Now, this has a different consequence. Why? Because you can raise up, like in case, the person can raise a point that, see, there is a series history of litigation between me and her. There is a history of disputes which are there, and at this stage, this accusation is being laid. So therefore, the circumstances in which the allegation is met is pivotal in section 354.
I request Shashank to write his question in the Q&A section so that we can see his query or question for which he might be raising his hand. And I request all the audiences and the attendees to write their question in the Q&A session. Thank you. Sir, there is a question. I think men are asking more questions than women. How can Indian men protect themselves? Yeah.
Sorry?
How can Indian men legally protect themselves from the women misusing section IPC? Yeah, again, I think it is talking about, 354.
354. Okay. See, basically, you have to see that 354 is outraging of modesty. I think it is outraging modesty of the victim. Now, you will have to understand that there is no blanket cover against it. You will have to see that what circumstances have led to the filing of such instance. Now, even police authorities, in fact, in Delhi, I would say that police authorities have done wonderful job. Once this allegation is made, they don't lodge an FIR immediately. They'll call you to the police station. They will see that what has happened, whether this allegation of 354 is an afterthought and it is being used. It is an afterthought and it may be used as a leverage down the line by the victim against you to get some lopsided settlement, or it was actually a case. If you want to know that whether there is a remedy to it or not, yes, there is a remedy. Under IPC, there are provisions. There are several provisions which actually give you the right, to file a case against somebody. In fact, presiding officers are filing case against such frivolous allegations when they are provided before the court or before the police station, in order to make make you look as an accused. So there are provisions in IPC. You can use those provisions. Basically, this happens because we as men or people as victims don't use these provisions. IPC have provisions that if false information has been provided in order to to frame somebody who is innocent, then IPC gives you the provision to file a case against that erring person.
Okay, sir. I hope, Rishi, your question has been solved. The Utkarsh sir has provided a solution to your question. There is a question from Rahul in the Q&A session. Can defamation case be filed against Section 498 of IPC against women by the family?
It is 498 or 498A.
He just wrote 498.
I think against the family members, it would be 498A. Never mind. So Rahul, what you have to do is, defamation case can be filed, but you will have to understand that defamation proceeding is little different proceeding than regular criminal proceedings. So defamation case, if you want to file, you must have this substance that she is using this as a leverage, this as a tool to defame your family, and this can be proven by showing her conduct, by showing that how this complaint against you and your family members has resulted in real loss of I would say respect in the society, or it has led to defamation of your family.
Aarti, can we come on the last slide?
Yeah.
Not this one. I would say the restoring one. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
So your point on the slide, and then we can open it for the Q&A session.
Restoring importance of criminal law, be conscious citizen, and see, I would say that if somebody has a case, see, in matrimonial dispute, I said that victims must raise their voice on the very first instance. They should not be silent on the very first instance. See, I'll tell you why such heinous allegations are raised at the last instance and they silently suffer during the course of their marriage. What happens is that they feel that things will improve over time. They will remain silent. If they remain silent, probably he might improve or the family might improve, but this is rare. This never happens. The victim must make sure that she is raising an alarm instead of raising false allegations, because once you raise false allegations, you must understand that at the end it is out of your revenge to seek some harm to the family members. Basically, it is coming that those allegations are coming out not by way of justice you are seeking. It is coming out because there is an essence of revenge in you, which you want. And I would also say that courts have been very clear. If false charges have been framed frivolous charges have been framed at the stage of trial, high courts have intervened, Supreme Courts have intervened by saying that no such frivolous allegations without any material substance in the FIR cannot make a common man suffer in the entire trial, because trial in itself is the punishment. If you are being made to suffer a trial for 10 years, despite you get acquittal, see, it is in itself a punishment. And in civil cases, I would say, have faith in the law which has been instituted: Civil Procedure Code, Commercial Courts Act, Arbitration Act. All three of them can yield you result which you desire, instead of going through section 420, 406 and other such penal sections in order to get your immediate relief. So be on merit, be truthful.
जब आपने कहा कि अपने मतलब अगर हमारा संविधान हमें इतनी अपॉर्चुनिटी देता है कि हम किसी गलत के खिलाफ मतलब आवाज उठा सकते हैं, तो आई थिंक ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है हमारी मतलब इंडियन सिटीजन के लिए कि वो देखें कि वो किस तरीके से इस लॉ को, किसी भी सेक्शन को अपने लिए इस्तेमाल करते हैं। कभी कभी वो, आपने बिल्कुल सही बोला कि रिवेंज के लिए वो भूल जाते हैं कि हम कौन सा सेक्शन यूज कर रहे हैं किसी अपने सामने वाली पार्टी के अगेंस्ट, which might actually destroy their personal life, their social life. They can destroy them financially.
Absolutely.
I think. Ji.
So
I will add in
this. See, a lady might allege. See, it is not just out of revenge always. It is also like sometimes, we have observed that it is not necessary that the men are always the accused. It is sometimes men are also victim, and we will also have to understand that once they become a victim of such allegations, whether it is 376, whether it is 376D, apart from the trial and from the vagaries of acquittal and conviction, they also have to face a social stigma which is with them at the moment, which stays with them throughout the life, that he was made an accused in such and such case. So you also have to see that.
Yeah, indeed, sir. Sir, there is a question from Shashank. How can men fight the legal terrorism unleashed by disgruntled wives, especially in false 498A cases?
See, I think you have used the word legal terrorism. I would rather say that yes, it is being misused. I would say that, see, fighting that terrorism, that act of the wife, you can use other remedies which are there. See, once she uses this, she makes allegations. There is a stage of trial. There are several stages of trial. Once the charge sheet is filed, the case is put at the stage of framing of charges. Now, if husband and family members of husband are made accused, charge sheet is filed in your FIR, and it is at the stage of framing of charges. Then the role of your defense counsel comes in, and then you can make your application for discharge, as there is no substance in the case. At least there will be partial discharge of accused if there are multiple accused. Like if there are 7 accused and there is hardly any substance against them, then you can be sure of it that if there is no substance, 2 of them or 3 of them would be discharged at the stage of trial itself. Now, if they are not discharged, say, for example, if they are not discharged and trial court says that no, you are going to face the trial. So you can immediately, at the very instant, approach the higher court for reconsideration of charges. Usually, once you go to the high court for reconsideration of charges under section 397, or you go to the sessions court, then also there is a probability that you are going to get relief, because high courts are very clear. Supreme Court is absolutely clear that no innocent man should face a trial only because there is an allegation leveled against somebody. If there is a merit, you will have to face the trial. But the general perception is that if somebody has been falsely made accused, he shall be discharged at the stage of charge only.
Thank you, sir. I hope I hope your question has been answered by sir. The next, I think there is no name. The attendee has asked, sir, what is your interpretation on the second condition of reguess? I don't know this term. I would ask Aarti to take this question. It's technical in nature. In Q&A session,
Please.
question.
So the question is, what is your interpretation on the second condition of residency, that the statement must be spontaneous? If it is not spontaneous, is there any other remedy for the victim?
Yes, very good question. See, why you are saying that? I mean, what I have construed from the question is the victim is trying to know that if there is no spontaneity in the statements made by the victim, can accused take advantage of it, and is there any remedy? Is that the question?
I guess.
Or maybe you can look into the question. So the question is there in the Q&A session.
Okay. I'm going to look at the section. It is anonymous attendee.
Yeah.
Sir, what is your interpretation on the second condition of the register, that the statement must be spontaneous? If it is not spontaneous, see why it should be spontaneous. The reason behind it being spontaneous is that your case should be coherent. It should not be in tits and bits. If there is a crime which has perpetrated, then it should be coherent to the case which you have put before the court. Suppose if you have made a statement before during cross-examination which is not coherent with the substance, with the evidence which is on record. For example, I'll give case of my, if one of the case in my which I did, the victim made an allegation against somebody which was basically the allegation of 2008, and she made an allegation, but when he came out with the defense, at that he was a government employee, and that at that point of time he was placed somewhere else. He was in his position, he was a government employee, he was on rolls, and his attendance register was there, and he was there for the entire month. Now, if your statement becomes inconsistent, then it is a problem. You can substantiate it. Yes, it can be substantiated. You can be recalled for re-examination. There can be an application by the prosecution or by the defense. You can, because if there is a question which has not been asked on one point, you can come and you can voluntarily also, irrespective whether the question is asked or not, you can make a statement before the court. The court will observe that the statement has been made voluntarily, and you can make that statement explaining that incoherence in your statement.
Okay, I hope the question has been answered well by sir. The next question is from Nandan Mishra. What are the options available to unempowered women of rural areas where neighborhood don't want to be witnessed due to legal fear, despite she has been harassed by the husband?
I think Nandan, it is a very good question. I think we will all have to look into this, because legal remedies are actually not available in the rural areas. See, even if she makes an FIR, if she lodges a complaint, and police comes to say village in say 3 hours down the line, see, in those 3 hours her life would be made miserable.
Okay.
But even if they come spontaneously, say they come in say 1 hour or 15 minutes or half an hour the police reaches the spot. But once the police goes, what remedy does remains with her? What remedy? Because she has to live with the family. So in Domestic Violence Act, there is a provision of protection officer. So she must immediately file a case before the concerned magistrate so that a protection officer is assigned to her. This protection officer is given a personal contact number, and the lady who is the victim, she can approach the protection officer, and this protection officer has only one purpose, is that to provide protection to the lady victim who are there first. Then secondly, if there is panchayat or if there is, then she must raise an alarm. You know, the raising of the alarm at the instance can cause as a deterrence itself. The society and the neighbors should intervene because it must also have a sociological impact. So society must intervene in circumstances where a victim is being harassed by her husband or the family member. Society in rural areas, society must intervene.
The next question is from Samar Praveen sir. What if the husband try to hide his true financial statement to get relief in the divorce settlement amount? Will this attract other fines?
Repeat the question. Is the question there in question and answer now?
Q&A session. Yeah. Samar
Okay,
Praveen.
Parveen. What if the husband try to hide his true financial statement to get relief in the divorce settlement amount? If the husband try to hide his true financial statement to get relief in divorce settlement account, will this attract other fines? I think if he tries to hide his financial status and you are aware of it, see, usually what is happening in Delhi, income affidavit to be filed by both the parties has been made mandatory. So they have to file their income affidavit. Suppose if he files an affidavit which does not discloses his entire income and he is trying to downplay his financial income, then the only remedy which remains with you is that you file an application in which under CRPC there is a provision of 340. There is a section you can file that this person is misleading. This person is it is a criminal offense, and once this application is filed that this affidavit which the husband has filed is incorrect, the court will mandate, but you will also have to explain that what else he has hidden. Suppose if he has hidden a immovable asset, then you will have to provide the detail of that immovable asset. If he has hidden a movable asset, say suppose fixed deposit, or there is some form of financial asset which is there, then you will have to provide the details of that. And once courts come to know that a false affidavit has been filed in their court, I think God save the husband.
The next question we have is from Rahul Sharma. Sir, some of the offences against the women are compoundable and provision are also there in CRPC for the same. So how does that work in real cases?
I'll just read the question again. Rahul Sharma says some of the offences against the women are compoundable and provision are also there in CRPC for the same. So how does it work in real cases? See, you will have to understand that it is not necessary against women. If the offense is compoundable, then it is compoundable for both. And High Court only quashes FIR in compoundable cases and sometimes in non-compoundable cases when an amicable settlement has taken place. If the victim is unwilling to accept or to let go of the other party, of the opposite party, then in that scenario, no compounding can take place, no courts would intervene, no quashing could take place. Compoundable offenses in Delhi, I would say my practice, which I have seen in my practice, courts are liberal. If the offense is compoundable and the parties are trying, and if they are ready to let go of each other, they are willing to let go of the issue, they are willing to amicably resolve the issue, then I think they allow the quashing of, they compound the offense.
Sir, attendee has asked, sir, what are your views on men too? I think there is a Muhim, me too. Something
Me too.
meant to.
Okay, so men too. See, you will have to understand that how men too situation.
I
You
think
are
there is
into.
a technical problem. Utkarsh sir? Yeah,
Yeah.
continue please.
See, sometimes what happens is you are in relationship for 4 years, you are in relationship for 3 years, something wrong happens and then there is an allegation against you. Sometimes it happens that somebody is in superior position with you, and then using their position, they manipulate you or they exploit you. So you will have to, not you, in fact, well, anyone, I'm talking in respect of in general, that the person will have to, again, I would say that be very clear. If something wrong has happened, he will have to raise the alarm at the first instance. And if he hasn't raised an alarm on the first instance, and then he has made himself to be exploited for, say, for a period of time, then again the case becomes weak, because the courts will ask you that why were you silent for 3 years, why were you silent for 4 years, what has happened that you are making an allegation for a crime which has taken place in 2016, explain that. So then your case becomes weak. So I would say that raise the, I think society must, I mean people must raise it on as soon as the crime has taken place.
Uh, Sir, I request Shubhi to write her question in the Q&A session. She has raised her hand. I request you to write your query or question in the Q&A session. So we'll be happy to answer that question also. Aarti, you also had a question, right?
Right. Can a person be arrested without evidence under Section 509 of IPC, simply based on the words of the victim?
509 509 has been 509. What is 509? 509 is abetment of it's attempt to suicide. It's making an attempt to kill oneself. 509 IPC you are talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a question. Can a person be arrested without any evidence under Section 509 of IPC simply based on the words of the victim?
I think you will have to read what is Section 509. I would request Aarti to read 509, and then I will explain the entire how you can. Aarti, can you read Section 509?
Yes, so
IPC?
just give me 2 minutes, sir.
For the time being, we can take next question. I would request Aarti to do let us know about that section. Kancha Upreti has asked a question. Sir, if a woman has to divorce her husband, but her husband is not having any job, and all the expenses are done by his wife only. She has 2 children. So what are the options available for his wife? She'll get any maintenance or not?
I think later on, number of judgments have come that if husband is not earning and wife is earning, but husband has a source of financial income. See, it is not necessary that husband has to earn. If he has a source of financial income, like from rent, from agriculture, or from other means, if he is getting the money, then he is bound to pay you. And he cannot let go of the responsibility of the children. He will have to pay. But in case if he is filing an attempt, in case if he is filing in case if he is filing an income affidavit which is of less amount than your income affidavit, then it becomes little problematic. Then you will have to explain that your income is not, you are unable to match your expenses, including the expenses of the children, according to your income, and then you will have to file your expenditure and your income affidavit, explaining your entire financial status, and according to that only courts can take a call. Yes, so 509 was somewhere outraging the modesty.
Sir, it says word, gesture, or act intended to insult the modesty of a woman.
Modesty of the woman. Correct. So this has Aarti, what was the question?
Just a second. Chandrika ma'am, do you have the question?
Yeah. Just give me a moment. Can a person be arrested without any evidence under Section 509 of IPC simply based on the words of the victim?
You will have to see that how the words of the victim has taken place. Now, suppose the victim is in a undisclosed location where there is nobody around and the accused is only there, then the benefit of doubt goes to the victim. But if you are in a public place, there are multiple people around you, and then an allegation is raised, then courts will deal accordingly. Because see, in a public place, there are multiple people. The evidences, the witnesses are multiple. There are several CCTV cameras which can be used. Now, if she has, if the allegation is of verbal abuse, then also see in these cases what happens is that the law is there to protect the women. So arrest, I would say, is rare, because arrest in these cases, anticipatory bail is also, courts are quite liberal in granting anticipatory bails. If you have been arrested, you would be granted bail also, because in these matters, investigation does not require your custody as such. If it has taken place in a closed room, then the allegation of 509 would be, I think, would not be of that consequence. Because there are several other attenuating circumstances which have to be considered once these allegations are raised.
Yeah, we are taking the last question for the session as we are running out of time. Samar Praveen is asking, I was going through the case of Independent Thought versus Union of India 2013, where the Supreme Court criminalized unwilling sexual contact with the wife between 15 and 18 years of age. Do you think the I don't know this word. Marital rape is
I'll see the
spelling mistake is there. Marital rape in India should be criminalized.
You see, Samar, I think this question needs a lot of thorough. It needs a lot of consideration before basically instituting marital rape, because marital rape is a reality and it must be stopped. See, no matter how much we say for it, this is happening and this is a reality, and we must take a call on this. It is the time when courts must intervene. And actually, it is not about courts as well. The legislature must pass a law, but we must also take care of the other aspects. See, marital rape would take place in closed rooms. Now, suppose a dispute arises between husband and wife, and she alleges marital rape. So we will have to legislate a law which balances the rights of the victim as well as the rights of the husband as well. But marital rape must be made a crime. There is no soft or there is no other way around. It must be criminalized, considering the rights of the husband, making sure that it is not misused.
So I hope sir has answered your question, Sama. Aarti, do you have any other question from any other platform?
No, sir. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank
Yeah.
you so much, Chandrika,
Any
and thank you so
words
much.
from your side, so anything that you would like your audiences who are watching you to maybe help them to actually utilize these sections wisely?
I would say that hold to your case, hold on to the merits of your case. Do not try to manufacture evidence or do not try to make false allegations because it takes the credibility out of your case. Make your case from the very beginning. If there is an alternate remedy, instead of going to a criminal court, instituting criminal proceeding, take that alternate remedy because that alternate remedy is specifically made for that purpose. So it will help you. And you can always let us know through by way of lawyer.in that if we can help you in any way around.
Samar is saying thank you, sir, for an informative and insightful session. There are a lot of thank you, and
My
they really liked this session. Any last word from your side, Aarti?
I think we've had a very insightful discussion where Sir has shared cases that he's dealt in, and I think as citizens we should realize that being ethical in your approach is very important. And yeah, let's let's not misuse these provisions.
okay. Sure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you, sir.
thank you, Utkarsh sir, for taking out time and helping a lot of people out there. And also, this topic is something which usually don't is not taken by, I would say, all the professionals so easily. So thank you so much,
Okay.
sir, for coming
Thank
out and speaking about this topic.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
all
you.
the attendees and the participants. Thank you.
Thank you.